Welcome to Do Go On, the podcast where we do go on. I'm your host, Matt Stewart, and with me, as always, is Jess Perkins.
Hello, Matt.
Hey, Jess. So good to be with you here today.
You nailed that.
Thank you so much.
It's been a little while since we've recorded.
It has, and I don't normally do that bit. Dave does, but he's not here. He's
That's right.
away, and he won't tell us where, but that's okay. He says he'll be back next week, and we look forward to seeing him. But in his stead, we have the very fantastical.
Ooh.
Maybe am I going too far to say the best in the biz?
That's not too far at all.
From Sans Pants Radio, it's Cass Paige.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
it is very good to be with you here today as well.
Thanks so much for being in Dave's stead,
Yeah.
if I'm using that term correctly.
It feels like pie, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Because you filled in for Jess a few times last month, so you're becoming the fifth Beatle here.
Oh, yes.
Maybe even the sixth Beatle. I think Nick Mason claims fifth Beatle status.
Yeah, I don't think
Who's the fourth
he's not going to give
Beatle?
that up.
That's Ringo.
Sucked in.
Before we get stuck into the episode, we should tell people that we're doing some live podcasts but next to the Melbourne International Comedy Festival in March and April at the European Beer Cafe Sunday nights, and you should come along.
You should. You absolutely should.
Probably good if you do, actually.
Yeah, I think it would
Yeah.
be fantastic.
I insist that you do. So, how about that?
You get rid of your Sunday scaries. That's a phenomenon I've learned about recently. Do you guys get the Sunday scaries?
I did as a kid. School gave me I don't know what it is, but I did hate Sundays
I don't know
as
what
a
it
kid
is.
because of school, I think.
Yeah, I've only ever seen it written down as Sunday scaries, so I think you're right.
Yeah.
So if you get
I remember everything about Sunday nights was so depressing. So for a long time, I hated Poirot type shows because that'd be on,
Yeah.
those Sunday night ABC shows.
Oh, yeah.
And now I kind of like them. They're comforting. But back then, I'm like, these are so fucking depressing. But yeah. Is that what you... Yeah.
Yeah. So if you get the Sunday scaries, a thing I just learned about, this is how to get rid of them. It's actually a cure.
Yeah.
You won't get you'll get the Sundays comfortables.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you come to the live shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you should come and do one of our live shows, Cass.
Oh, I'll
talk
do
to
it.
you about that off air.
Yeah, put her on the spot. I've been quiet this whole time because I've been trying to find the link so I could tell you the dates because I did not know. It's all through April. Sunday the 3rd of April through till Sunday the 24th. At what time is it?
I think it's 8:45.
9:45.
9:45. No, it ends at 9:45. 8:45.
Oh, 8:45 to 9:45. Yes, you're absolutely right. I just read the last number.
Oh.
This is why we let Dave do a lot of this housekeeping stuff.
I reckon that's what people are there looking up the tickets. Like, I'm keen to go 9:45.
9:45 is far too late on a Sunday.
It is.
I don't get the Sunday scaries, just to come back to that, because Sundays are my Friday.
Oh.
Monday, Tuesdays are my weekend. So Sundays for me, beautiful day. Love them. Big fan. Love a
I-
Sunday.
that's
I love a
gorgeous.
Sunday as well.
Always
now.
been a fan.
It's just
Really? Yeah, that's
I think
great.
the vibe. I think the thing that is scary for some people. I think the vibe is nice.
Yes.
I think sometimes I've recently had to do a thing where I make rest a thing I have to do.
Yes.
So then after I've rested, I feel very productive, and it's tricked me into being able to take the appropriate amount of rest. And then on Sunday, I'm like, oh God, got a lot of rest in that day.
Yeah.
Oh, nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look how productive I was. I got so much rest.
Yeah.
I didn't move from my bed for 4 straight hours.
God.
Just looking at TikToks. Look
think
at me
of the
go.
recuperation,
Yeah.
brain off, body healing.
That's important. I think that's actually a smart way to do it. It's just sort of schedule in rest time.
It feels better than usual because
Yeah.
you're like, time to rest. Today is a rest day. And then every time you take a small pleasure in a slow cup of tea, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Look at me go.
Oh, God.
I am resting
Unstoppable.
so hard right now.
Unstartable.
Removing the guilt of rest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gamify rest.
That's
I
good.
just mentioned TikTok. I'm on TikTok now. Matt
Yes,
Stewart
you
Comedy. Look me
Hey!
up. Trying to do one a day. It's hard, and
One
I'm
a
running out of
day?
ideas. But
That's so many.
yeah,
Is
well,
it
if
too
you,
many, Cass? You can tell him if it's too
if
many.
you have a look, you'll see the quality ebbs and flows.
I'm gonna have
Mainly
a look.
ebbs.
I'm gonna check it out. I don't think it's too many, like from a consumer standpoint, but from
They're like,
having
I can't,
to
another
do.
minute of Matt. I can't handle this.
No, I think it's good. Probably every day, like, oh yes, it's Matt time. But
Yeah.
if I were you, I would be like, oh God, another.
Yeah.
It will become a burden and I'll stop doing it soon. But while we're plugging Comedy Festival, Alistair Trombley-Birchall and I are doing a show called Honk Honk Hubba Hubba Ring-a-Ding-Ding. And it's on the second half of the festival. And you can get tickets. There'll be links to all this stuff in the show notes. Come to both our podcast and my show. And you can also come. We're doing a quiz show as well, which you can come to on Sunday night. So
Monday nights.
Monday nights.
Yeah. You can trip yourself.
Come to all three. Yeah. Do the trip.
Yeah.
Bitch.
I think 9:45 finish time is really nice because sometimes what I like to do is if something's on a bit late at night is I'll brush my teeth before I leave and I'll wear the pajama-iest clothes I can. So then, like, as soon as you leave, you go home and you, like, just enter bed straight away.
Oh, my God, that is so smart.
Oh, my God. Brush your teeth before you leave the house. And then as soon as... And it just makes... You know, when you get to the end of the night, you're like, oh, okay, got to drive home, whatever. It gets rid of all of the feeling of, I have to go to bed because you are ready.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can...
Nighttime routine. The only problem is...
Pajamas under clothes.
Beer tastes weird after brushing your teeth. But apart from that, I think that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. See, in this scenario, I just drink water or, like, a peppermint tea and and then it's, like, my little secret for the night. I'm like, my pajamas are under my clothes. I'm like, oh, no one knows.
No one ever knows, these suckers.
So cheeky. They don't even know how close to bed I am.
I'm in a room of fools.
They have no idea my night cream is on.
That is so good. I've learned so much from you already today.
You're very wise,
5
Cass.
minutes in and I'm like, oh, there's so many good ideas.
Hey, Jess, Cass hasn't done this show for a few weeks now. Do you reckon you could explain the concept to her and any new listeners?
Absolutely. I mean, we also haven't technically recorded for a while, so it'd be a nice refresher for us too. What we do is one of the three of us goes away, researches a topic, comes back, tells the other two all about it, who politely interrupt, go on tangents, and just generally fuck around a bit.
Always respectfully.
It's a respectful fuck around.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's the do go on motto. That would be a fun neon sign.
Respectable fuck around.
And we always start with a question.
Respectable reach around.
Oh boy,
that's
different. That's different.
It's close but different. Isn't the language of English fun?
Isn't it beautiful?
Like the difference between a boob job and a tit job.
Yeah. So similar on paper.
On
Same
paper,
words.
but very different.
Really different.
And it's important to specify which one you are requesting.
I feel so bad for anyone whose English is second or third.
One tit job, please. That felt good.
So we always start with a question, and my question is convoluted, to be honest. Which Hollywood star made her name in a film named after an illicit drug? I feel like you're not going to know who this person is. So
let's go through some drugs.
Molly
Ringwald.
No.
No, the film's named after
That's
the
right.
drug.
Okay.
Okay.
Imagine she was named after a drug. Ecstasy. Is there a movie
Yes.
called Ecstasy?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
And we haven't heard of this actor, so that's going to be hard to guess.
I don't think so, but she's a Hollywood classic. Like she's one of the stars of like the 30s and 40s.
Betty Davis eyes.
Rita Hayworth.
No, you're thinking like the right kind of thing.
Gene Kelly.
First name Hedy
Lamarr.
Hedy Lamarr. That's right.
That's sick.
That's fun.
She's had a really interesting life, and she's been suggested by so many people. Like 20 people or something in the hat have suggested the life of Hedy Lamarr. So those people have suggested it: Alan, Peter Kay, Anna Cox, Emily Denzel, Katrina, Sophie, Brandy, Lauren, Jess, Ruby, Grace, Maddie, Ari Katz, Emily Good. All those people have suggested the life of
Emily
Hedy
Good.
Lamarr.
Emily Good. She's Emily Good. Emily Good. Emily Good. She's Emily Good.
Do you know much? I mean, you knew the name. Do you know much about Hedy Lamarr?
I
I mean,
only
you were
know-
alive at the time.
Yeah. I spent some time with Hedy. The phrase "Hedy Days" that was after her. Oh, they were Hedy Days. They were just like, some people for a little while said Lamarry Days, but Hedy took off more. I know that she was a badass. She was She was like a multi-threat.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just an acting story.
Yeah.
She did some pretty interesting other things, which I can hardly remember. But
Cass, is it a name that rings a bell for you at all?
Yeah, it's just a little tinkle in the back of my
Yeah,
mind. The
yeah.
name is very familiar, and I think it's because it's a very cool name.
It's such a good name. Well, her like birth name is Hedwig Eva Maria Keisler.
Yeah, right.
Keisler.
Yeah.
Hedwig.
First Hedwig I ever heard of, Harry
Alan,
Potter's
Harry
Al.
Potter, yeah.
This is only
It's
the
not
second
Harry Potter's
Hedwig.
giant? No.
No.
That's Hagrid.
Oh.
Hedwig
Why
is
do
the
they?
owl.
I mean, you got all the names in the world. J.K. Potter, J.K.
Rolling.
Rowling. Why are you picking Hedwig and Hagwig?
Hagrid.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Hagrid,
That's
Hedwig,
different enough, I guess.
Hermione.
Yep.
A lot of people I knew growing up had never read the name Hermione before, so everyone called her Hermione.
100% me as
Yeah.
well.
I was a Hermione child.
I did not know the name Hermione.
No, and I wasn't going to learn.
No, God, no.
I've never heard of another Hermione. It sounds like she opened the big book of names and
Yeah.
landed on page H.
Yeah,
And she said, that'll do.
that'll do. I'll have a look around here. Harry. Oh my God, there's another one.
Jeez.
There's so
Well,
many.
who does he play?
Hon Heasley,
Hon Heasley.
Honey, yeah.
Professor Humbledore,
Heiko Malhoy.
Hobby.
I love Hobby.
I'll be the house elf.
That's right. So yeah, Hedwig Eva Maria Keisler. She was born in Vienna in 1914, the only child of Gertrude and Emil Keisler. As a child, she was interested in two different hobbies, not the elf. Both of which were a little unusual for the time. She was fascinated by gadgets, and at the age of 5, she pulled apart a music box and put it back together just to see how it worked. And she was also interested in acting and was fascinated by theatre and film. Throughout her life, she would pursue both these interests, but the praise and attention would always be focused on just one. So her parents were fairly wealthy. They lived in what was described as like the really cultured and arty kind of area of Vienna. It's like a very cool kind of neighborhood. They took their daughter to the opera, the theater, to art galleries. At school, she excelled in science, particularly chemistry. And film historian Janine Basinger said, "In a different era, she may very well have become a scientist. At the very least, it was an option that was derailed by her beauty."
Yeah. Too distracting for the
Been
other
there.
scientists.
Been
Yeah.
there, right? And
Too
we'll-
sexy for the lab.
Yeah.
We've all been there, am I
Yeah, I
right?
know.
The rats just won't, how do you do A/B testing when the rats are all looking at you all the time?
Just staring at you like panting.
Yeah.
Ever seen a rat pant?
Yeah.
It's weird.
I mean, I have. That's why I don't do science.
I know. Your science days, people are like, can you take that lab coat off? You're covering up a little too much. I know. No, it's not fair because you just wanted to do science.
Yeah, I just wanted a science.
I know. I'm sorry, buddy.
When I missed the year. What era are we talking
She
here?
was born in 1914.
1914. Good
Good
year.
on her.
Yeah. Good on her, I reckon.
Yeah, well done.
I love that it's been worded that her interests were acting, a hobby and career, and gadgets.
Yeah, I know.
Would it be, is that engineering or something?
Yeah, I
Like-
guess so, yeah. She was like very interested in like how things worked. Her father was like in a nice twist on a Hollywood classic story. Her dad's actually a lovely man. Parents are really lovely. She has a great relationship with her parents. She's treated well. You don't hear that a lot with the Hollywood icons.
Yeah.
It's usually, dad, terrible person. But her dad was lovely, and he, they'd go for walks together, and he would sort of be pointing out things around and like how, and explaining how those things
There's
work.
a tree.
Yeah.
It grows from the ground.
It's crazy. It's got like roots
She's
in
got
it.
the notepad
Yeah.
out.
It looks the same up top as it does down below, but smaller.
Whoa.
Pretty crazy. Anyway, that's a traffic light. Don't know how that works. So she was sort of interested in like the science, how things worked, engineering, I suppose, and also the theatre. So yeah, this is something that was basically that happened for her whole life. Her beauty gets in the way of her potential in other areas, and it means that her achievements are brushed over, and the focus is always on her looks.
Oh my god. Kindred spirit.
I know. I knew this is why I chose it. I
Yeah.
knew you would like relate to this.
Just why can't people focus on my achievements?
Yeah. And you have so many.
Yes.
And yes, you're gorgeous.
Yeah, which is fine, but not my value.
Exactly
Can I
right.
say that?
Absolutely. Of course. And yeah, for any beautiful people listening.
Which is all of you.
All of you. It's fine to be beautiful. It's so okay. Don't feel bad about being drop dead gorgeous.
The world's
felt guilty
changing.
a long
There's a
time.
space for you.
Yeah.
There's a space for us.
Make space for us beauties.
Yeah, we say that from within that space. We
Yeah.
say,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
come into the space of the beautiful people.
Yeah, well, we're allowed to talk about it.
Exactly right, yeah. And so we want to include others and say, hey, it's okay to be beautiful and you don't have to be ashamed of that. It's not your value still, but it definitely adds to your value.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're better than other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're better than the Uggos. But I'm just sick of it's all people want to hear. I've got other interests, okay?
Yeah.
It's so hard because it's like, these are my interests, these are what I put effort into every day, and I can't help being stunning.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I can do about
I
that.
wake up and I'm like, oh, fuck, stunning again.
I try not to do my hair and it falls perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, what about... I
I
can't
know.
put more effort than I do into my hobbies,
I know.
into being approachable.
Exactly. Like, what, you have to dull your shine for other people?
I've tried.
I know. Yeah.
I've rubbed myself in dog shit, and
People are
people
like,
just
oh, wait,
go,
what's
that's
that new
a beautiful
cologne?
scent.
Where can I get it?
Looks great on you.
Thank you.
You wear it well.
Damn
Yeah.
it.
I could never.
Oh, I've
That's
got
what
it.
they say.
That's what they say. They all say that. So at the age of 12, she won a beauty contest in Vienna, and by her mid-teens...
Just by walking past.
Yeah, she was just... they just saw her and was like, you win. By her mid-teens, she was taking acting classes, and one day she forged a note from her mother and went to Sasha Film. It was the largest film production company, and she was able to get herself hired as a script girl, which today would be called a script supervisor, but back then, script girl. So within...
They realised it required skill, so
Yeah, like-
girls couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, we got to call this a supervisor. Because some boys were like, I actually wouldn't mind being a script girl. Within no time, she was being used as an extra in films like 1930s Money on the Street. She's been in so many films, and I won't read every single film title, but I love olden day film titles. And I know that film titles of today will sound ridiculous in the future, but back then they were fun. They had some good titles,
Yeah,
you know?
Snakes on
Really?
a Plane.
Yeah.
It sounds normal now.
No Time to Die is going to sound kind of funny. It
Yeah.
already does sound a bit funny.
All the Bond ones are confusing. I
yeah.
have to think about them so many times to
Yeah.
understand what the fuck they're talking about.
What do you mean by that? Casino Royale?
What
What
could
does
it-
that mean?
Crack the code, please.
She had a small speaking part in 1931's Storm in a Water Glass. I like that one.
I love that.
That's a good one. I like that very much. Next, she took to the stage after producer Max Reinhardt then cast her in a play entitled The Weaker Sex. Bit of fun. I wonder who that was about.
Guys have copped it for so long. So
Yeah.
that was a movie about men.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look,
Look at those tiny little arms you got.
bad example.
Small, weaker brain? What should I say is weaker?
In men.
Yeah.
Hips couldn't bear another body.
Oh my god, yeah.
So I'm so glad you thought of something. I was battling.
There's nothing, look at nothing. So strong.
I'm trying to be funny and fun, but I honestly can't think of anything men are worse at than women. I'd love to, as a feminist.
I know you would, I know.
The
Yeah.
thing that I want to do more than anything is lift you up, but...
And
But
it'll be so easy for you to
because you're
do.
so strong.
Yeah.
I couldn't lift us up.
Oh,
No,
no.
with these tiny little arms.
No, I'm
so
little.
Reinhardt was so impressed with her that he brought her with him back to Berlin with promises of training and roles in his productions.
Sounds normal. Was she 12?
Yeah, she's like, by this time she's maybe 16.
Normal stuff.
Normal stuff.
Back then, 16 was like 102.
It's the 30s, you know? They didn't live long. You gotta just get into life. You know what I mean?
You just
Yeah.
got to get on a plane with a man.
Get on a plane with a man.
Go to a different country.
He's gonna train you. He's gonna put you in his plays.
Yeah, and you should always believe the stranger.
What more would you want? But that didn't even really happen. Instead, she did go with him to Berlin, but she met a Russian theatre producer named Alexis Granovsky, who cast her in his film directorial debut, The Trunks of Mr. O.F.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Trunks of Mr. O.F. came out in 1931.
Trunks is in bathers.
Hard to say. Didn't look up the synopsis of that one.
Or is Mr. OF an elephant?
Or a tree.
Double-headed elephant? Oh, yeah, it could be a tree.
I reckon it's probably a tree.
Yeah? double-headed tree.
If it's underwear and he's Mr. OnlyFans and he was who invented it.
Oh, that actually makes more sense. Yeah,
OnlyFans.
that actually makes way more sense. Yeah, that's got to be it. It's got to be underwear, Mr. OnlyFans.
Yeah.
It's
Love
the
how
invention of
the
OnlyFans.
movie titles are so long back then, but
Yeah.
they're abbreviating the name to OF.
The trunks of Mr. Oliver Finch. You know, like whatever.
The
just
fantabulous
finish it.
trunks.
The next year, she was given the lead role in a comedy called No Money Needed. It's a bit of fun. But the role that really put her on the map was in 1933, when 18-year-old Hedy was given the lead role in the erotic romantic drama film Ecstasy. The film is about a young woman who marries a wealthy but much older man. After abandoning her brief, passionless marriage, she meets a young engineer who becomes her lover. It's one of the first non-pornographic movies to portray sexual intercourse and female orgasm, although never showing more than the actors' faces, but that was enough back then to ruffle some feathers.
Big.
Yeah.
They showed faces. Oh my God. I'm getting a little hot under the collar just thinking about faces.
Yeah. It was essentially shots of like, and I think I talk about it later anyway, but it's scenes that she's shot by herself. It's not an actual sex scene, but it's kind of implied, and back then that was enough for it to be too scandalous.
Is Mr. OF like the O face?
I guess so. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh fuck! It's probably that. I think
Mr. Oh, fuck yeah.
that's how Australians have sex. Okay, don't mock our culture.
Oh, yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, Matt, please, we're at work.
That's what is rooting here. So if you're an international listener, if you hear someone talking about rooting,
that's what it
that's
is.
our cultural practice.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's
yeah, you're so good at rooting. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
root me
yeah.
so good. Yeah, root me right there. That's it. That's the spot to root me in.
I'll Nobody. Okay. I don't think I've ever heard anybody use spoof as in the act of coming.
The verb
spoof.
Yeah, you know, it's always just been the...
Keep rooting me. I'm so close to doing a spoof. That's more what you would say.
Yeah, that's more what I'm used to. Anyway, yeah, apparently I read a bit of the synopsis of the Film of Ecstasy. She marries this older guy, and then they don't consummate the marriage, and he doesn't have sex with her, and she's like, well, fuck you then. And so she leaves. So the film was controversial in some countries because of the scenes in which Lamarr is running and swimming naked, and the orgasm scene, which again is not an orgasm scene by today's standards. It's a woman's face, but that was enough. Anyway, I should say as well, at this time she's being credited as, I think, just Hedy Keisler. Lamarr comes later.
Ooh.
After a Vatican journalist attended screening at Venice Film Festival, Pope Pius... Fuck, should have looked it up. What's XI?
11.
Oh, thank you. Pope Pius 11 denounced the film in the Vatican newspaper, and as a result, none of the Italian distributors bought the rights for distribution. In Germany, the film was banned and only released in 1935 with edited scenes. So it was big. The film and the controversy surrounding it made Hedy an international household name almost overnight. And not necessarily in a good way. It was more infamous, I think.
Yeah.
But she was definitely then known.
Bad influence on the children, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, don't talk about how we make children, but you can't have any of that.
Yeah. Frustratingly, Hedy said that the sex scenes in the film were scenes she filmed alone, like I was saying before, and it was cut to portray an implied sex scene. But then, and same with some of like the nude scenes where she's sort of like she's swimming in a river or lake or something, and then she's running through, the wilderness kind of. She's running and she's naked. She says she was told that they were using like a long lens and it would be like you wouldn't see anything, and that she sort of felt quite pressured into it. And I believe that she felt quite pressured into it, but a lot of other people who had turned down the role said there's no way she would have taken the role and accepted it not knowing that. Like, it was very clear from the beginning that there would be nudity, and so they're sort of like, you knew, but at the same time, she was young and felt pretty pressured into it. which isn't
Yeah,
good.
right. So they're only showing the face in sex scenes, but there's full nudity elsewhere.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it's like full frontal. I think you see a bit of butt.
Oh my god! Don't tell me they're showing ankle.
Yeah, it's pretty scandalous.
I mean, I could see if like you read somewhere that there's going to be nudity in the film, and then if she was seriously considering the role, asking about it, they're like, "Oh, from far away."
Yeah. So it's a bit of a, it's obviously it's still not okay if she feels like she was pressured into,
If she thought she was going into one thing and then it turned out not to
for
be
sure.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. So she returned to
The
Vienna.
cameraman's like standing right on her.
He's
I
like,
thought this was
No, but it's a very wide lens.
It's a wide lens. This is how it works. This looks like I'm over there.
Honestly, this lens is actually getting stuff happening back here. It's crazy, honestly. I'm actually in this shot.
Yeah.
And I'm behind the camera. These cameras are so good. It's the 30s, babe. Things are actually pretty good.
Come on, babe. You love gadgets.
It's almost the 30s again.
Ooh. Bring back nudity on the screen.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think it's time.
Yeah.
Not just yet. We'll wait till
we've
33.
Yeah, we've got years.
11 years. And then nudity.
Oh,
Yeah.
Every movie, everyone naked. So she returns to Vienna, her reputation not so desirable at this point, and much to the anger of her father for the role she'd played as well. He was pretty disappointed in her. Her first thought was not humiliation or sadness, but determination. She said to herself, well, I'll show them, which I think is kind of cool.
She already did.
That's like,
fun.
look, no, you've already shown me enough.
Yeah, well, I'll
Thank
show
you,
them.
Hedy.
No, I'd rather you didn't. I'd rather you
That's
didn't
how we
show
got
them.
into this mess.
So she just got back to work. She won praise and accolades from critics for her performance in a play about Empress Elizabeth of Austria. I've read that the play was called Sissy, but Hedy herself referred to the play as being called Elizabeth of Austria. But regardless, it was a play that was very well received. It was had standing ovations and stuff. Critics loved her. It was a big success for the play and for Hedy herself. Admirers sent roses to her dressing room, and audiences gave standing ovations at the end of the play. One particularly persistent admirer was a man named Fritz Mandel. He was an Austrian military arms merchant and munitions manufacturer who was reputedly the third richest man in Austria. He was 14 years her senior and did not win the approval of Hedy's parents because of his ties to Italian fascist leader Benito Mussolini and later German Führer Adolf Hitler.
Sounds like a real catch, this guy.
Ooh.
But Hedy was headstrong and she was like, whatever, mum and dad, I'm going to marry him, which is exactly what she did in 1933. The couple lived in a castle in Vienna.
Oh. Okay. I see what she sees here.
Is she like she's not seeing any sort of like arch villain sort of vibes living in a
Yeah, that is
castle?
like-
He's mates with Mussolini and Hitler. I guess they probably weren't seen as Mussolini and Hitler as we see them now yet in the early 30s.
Early
but
30s.
Still, they were showing some tendencies right
Yeah.
off the bat.
Yeah.
I'm going to say not great guys.
Yeah.
Red flags, at least.
Big time. Yeah. They lived in their castle in Vienna, and Hedy served as an arm piece for her husband, essentially. She was a trophy wife.
He was an arms dealer.
Yeah, and she was an arm piece. So they would like host banquets and lavish parties for the Italian and German dictators. Some people said like, no, Hitler was never there, but Mussolini definitely was.
This this has like very quickly changed the vibe how I've seen her so far.
It's going to change a few more times.
Okay. Oh, I love a few flips and flops.
It's kind of crazy. It says a lot about Mandel's character that both his father and Hedy's parents were from Jewish families, yet he continued to rub shoulders and sell weapons to the Nazis. Hedy had to accompany her husband to business meetings, events, parties, and was essentially just there to be beautiful. Not surprisingly, she was bored out of her mind. She was a very intelligent woman, but like she was... Everybody who met her and describes her is like she would walk into a room and everybody would stare at her. Like she was stunning.
Yeah, right.
Would
you looking at a photo of her now? Can you see that, or because times change with that?
I know
sort of stuff,
times change and like different fashions and stuff change. There's a few. Oh, she's gorgeous. She's stunning, and like the little clips I've seen of her acting and stuff. She's quite captivating. I get it. I remember watching Breakfast at Tiffany's and being like, oh, I get the Audrey Hepburn thing. Like,
Right.
she's captivating. So she's really, really beautiful, but it's very funny because especially early on, like, the fashion at the time was super thin eyebrows that didn't quite sit where eyebrows should, and they also went, like, too long down the side of the face. And that's all I could focus on in those early shots. I was like, what's going on there? So I couldn't tell for a while. But once they sorted out the eyebrows thing, I'm like, yeah, you're beautiful. So her marriage to Fritz was a fairly toxic one. She found him to be controlling and prevented her from pursuing her acting career. And she's only 18 at the time. Like, her acting career's only just started.
Wait.
Right.
The guy who's friends with Hitler and Mussolini was controlling.
I know.
That's so weird. You
How
just can't
could
pick
she have
him.
known?
There's no way.
I know. Oh, and back then you didn't date for as long. You didn't live together first. You know, you don't get as many chances to see these red flags, like from the guy who sells weapons to Hitler. You just don't know. He was extremely unhappy about the simulated sex scene in Ecstasy and reportedly spent $280,000, which is about $4.5 million now, in an unsuccessful attempt to suppress the film by purchasing every existing print. He tried to buy every copy of the film so that nobody would see it.
Oh my
$4.5 million.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah, it's super weird.
I love you for your
Love you.
acting and everything you do
So
and your
beautiful.
talent. And
Yeah.
But I don't want anyone else to see it.
I don't wanna
yeah,
see
that's
that
actually for
talent.
me only. Also, have a lot of money from the royalties, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very strange. $4.5 million to suppress her work. It didn't work either. Like,
Where did he keep them?
yeah, that's a good
Because
point.
that's a physical copy back in
He's
the
got a
day.
castle.
You got a castle.
Oh, yeah,
Surely he's got a
He's
few
got a film
rooms.
He's got the
room.
porno room.
Yeah, he's got a few spare rooms. He could just stack them up.
So were they together when that film was made? Or just-
No.
so it all happened
They
very
got married,
quickly.
and then he's like, "Oh wait,
Hang
no,
on
that's
a second.
mine. No one
Yeah.
else is allowed to look. I'm inventing NFT."
That's my ankle.
Yeah, he essentially, like, she was on his radar when she was in the play and was getting a lot of praise and attention, which wasn't long after the film. But yeah, it all happens very, very quickly. You know, it was short courtships back then.
Very
The
short.
13-year age difference is a lot bigger when I didn't realise she was 18 still.
Yeah, and he's in his 30s.
It's basically double her age.
It's
almost.
weird.
I mean, maths, that's not quite right, maths-wise, but
It's close
basically
to.
double.
Basically double.
Basically
take
triple,
off a
actually, if
few.
you think about it.
Yeah.
He was, immensely jealous and possessive of his wife. Eventually,
I'm starting to turn on this guy.
do you reckon?
Yeah.
No, hang on. He might just win you over. Nah, he definitely won't. He's a piece of shit. Eventually, he like barely even allowed her to be in the room with other men because she was so beautiful and she would be looked at.
Yeah.
So it's like you marry her to be beautiful next to you, so other people are looking at you and going, wow, he's got a beautiful wife. And then you're like, hang on a second, she's too beautiful. Tone down some of that beauty. Everyone's looking at you. It's
feel
like, that was
like,
the point.
there
That
might
was
be-
the point.
Might be some underlying issues with Fritz.
Yeah.
That reminds me of, have you seen people online talk about how the phenomenon, I don't know if it's super common, but like a guy will like be really attracted to a girl who like is going through a hoe phase and like dressing real provocatively and having the best time of her life, and then they get together and he's like, well, you can't dress like that anymore. She's like, but
Yeah.
I thought you
that's-
liked me.
yeah. What do you mean I can't dress like that? That was me.
And that's what you liked.
Yeah.
And now I'm not allowed to. I did see a great tweet it was like, yeah, I don't mind if my girl dressed like a hoe. That's why I like her. She's a hoe. I knew that when I met her.
I love her.
Yeah. Very
that's-
supportive and beautiful, but yeah.
Those are the same kind of guys that then go like, well, you can't dress like that, the thing that attracted me to you.
Oh, yeah.
But now that you're dressing down, you're kind of gross to me.
What's it? Explain what you did.
You
did
look-
something wrong.
You look yucky.
Yeah.
Why do
Why
I
do you
fuck
look
that?
Yucky. Why, now that I've asked you to dress all modest, you're reminding me of my mum?
Yeah.
And now you should do my dishes.
Yeah.
Thoughts about relationship transitions. I'm not attracted to you anymore. Clean my house.
Same kind of guys. Those are the red flags. Those are the red flags, ladies.
Yeah. Also, if they're selling weapons to Nazis.
That's another. Actually,
we should probably keep that from this one. That was also a bad thing.
That was quite a big red flag. I think she probably should have seen that, even though she was young. So he even had like maids listening on her phone calls to make sure she wasn't up to anything, and he was constantly paranoid that she was having an affair. She wrote, "I knew very soon that I could never be an actress while I was his wife. He was the absolute monarch in his marriage. I was like a doll. I was like a thing, some object of art which had to be guarded and imprisoned, having no mind, no life of its own." And I think the death of her father in 1935 also made her think a lot about what she wanted from her life and the freedom that she was longing for. So in 1937, she decided to leave her husband and her country. But you can't just leave a man like Fritz Mandel easily,
You have to kill him.
It's not easy to just be like, "Hey, Fritz, we've tried." You know?
Yeah, this sounds like that would be scary.
Yeah,
because he sounds like a psycho.
Yeah. So what she did is they were hosting a dinner party one night, and Hedy was sort of like, involved in hiring the help. So she purposefully chose a maid that had similar features to her. She swapped clothes with the maid, put on her coat, which she'd sewn all of her jewellery into the lining of, got on a bike and fled.
Oh.
One thing I read was that she put sleeping powder in a tea and swapped teas with the maid, sort of drugged her and took her clothes.
Oh.
That sounds a bit worse. Not
That's pretty
100%
awful.
sure if that's what she did.
Wait,
but
so Fritz and the maid lived happily ever after?
Yeah, I don't know.
He never noticed?
I don't know what happened back at Fritz Manor or whatever the castle's called.
Hang on.
What does that even...
This is not my beautiful wife.
Yeah. Not really sure what happened for the maid. I
David
don't know.
Byrne was there, and that's
Yeah.
when he went, and that's how he got the inspiration for that song.
It's pretty amazing. Anyway,
This is not my beautiful castle.
So she flees. She takes all her jewellery with her. And she gets out. Her parents had friends in London, so that's where she chose to go. And while she was there in London, she sort of spent a couple of months figuring out what her next moves would be. And she met with Louis B. Mayer of Metro Goldwyn Mayer.
Louis B. Mayer.
Oh.
Louis B. Mayer.
Louis be making movies. Louis B. Mayer. Head of that bit.
Louis
Nailed.
B. Metro Goldwyn Mayer studio and...
Was he the lion?
Yes.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
him.
the line.
We talked about him, I think, in the Wizard of Oz episode.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, I forget. There's some confusing thing about that history there. Like,
Yeah, I don't...
he wasn't actually... I can't remember, but
I
there
don't
was
remember.
some confusing thing.
Well, he was in Europe scouting for talent, but essentially he was actually there to buy up all the actors who were fleeing Nazi Germany.
Buy them.
Yeah, like buying them up, putting them on contracts, bringing them back to the States, and then you've just got them. Because back then, and I think it still happens a little bit, but it's quite different now, but you were sort of like, you were on a contract with a particular movie studio.
Yeah, you get and they were brutal deals. Like, they wouldn't make much money. They'd be the star. It took a while for the actors to group together and take some of the power back.
Yeah.
Because it was more like... it was like doing a day job pretty much. It'd be like, cool, so you work at the studio.
Yeah.
You do the acting. Millions will watch you and adore you. You don't get any more money. Bye.
Yeah, exactly right.
Finish your end of contract. You get an hourly wage.
Yeah, turn up at 7 and we'll have a movie for you. We're writing it now. And we'll churn that out. And then, see you tomorrow. So he was just there like scouting, getting all these people who were desperate and so would probably accept pretty low wages. He offered her a contract with MGM, paying $125 a week. She turned him down. She was like, not enough. Bitch, I was just living in a castle.
I just came from a castle, so...
I was just living in a castle. I'm not taking $125 a week. She knows her worth, and I like that.
What's that equivalent to in today's terms?
Well, that's a good question. Not sure. I mean, it's not nothing.
It seems like a I want
like
to have a look.
$1,000
If like
maybe?
280 grand was $4.5 million now.
Yeah, so it'd be thousands a week.
Yeah.
But movie stars can make, millions.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
So I don't know for keeping up her castle lifestyle.
Yeah, so she turns him down.
The first run of movies, they were all Austrian movies, were they?
Yeah, or like, in various parts of Europe. There was a few different ones there, yeah. But she's not in Hollywood yet. Instead, so she turns him down, and then she books herself a ticket for the SS Normandy, the ship that Maya was taking back to New York. She just puts herself on the same ship.
Oh, should have been attracted to the SS. She loves that world.
On board the ship, she made sure to accidentally bump into him around. Oh, hello, Mr. Mayer. Nice to see you. On the second night of the voyage, she put on her finest ball gown and walked through the dining room. Every eye in the room was glued to Hedy, her beauty capturing everyone's attention. And by the end of the night, she had a contract for $500 a week. She's just like look, like everybody's looking at me.
This ball gown just paid for itself.
Yeah, did she sew a ball gown into her jacket?
Yeah, I don't know how she had it, but like she was staying in a pretty modest cabin on the ship. But she was looking wealthy without actually being wealthy.
She had time to spend some of her jewels on a ball gown.
Oh,
probably
yeah,
between.
yeah, she had jewels, yeah.
And they were like, yeah, they would have been good jewels. So selling those would have kept
jewels.
You'd want to get rid of those.
So she's still technically married to Fritz.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if he tracks her down or anything, because she's hardly hiding.
Yeah.
She's hiding in plain sight, really.
It seems like he kind of let her go.
Right.
Like,
well,
I didn't.
He never figured it out. The maid.
He's still with the maid to this day.
She comes up all groggy, and he's like, Hedy,
where you been, baby?
And she's like, my name's not Hedy. You're like, geez, have you had a hit your head or something? And
no, she looks around at the castle and it's like, yes,
yeah.
I love you.
Have you hit your heady or something? I had to, sorry. So anyway, yeah, so she's got this $500 a week contract. Maya was the one who persuaded her to change her name to distance herself from her real identity and the ecstasy lady. You don't want to be known as that and that reputation. So as an homage to silent film star Barbara Lamarr, Maya's wife suggested Hedy Lamarr.
Barbara Lamarr, that's a great name.
Barbara Lamarr was like LA space MARR. Hedy is all one word.
That's French for the Mar.
The Mar. Barbara, the Mar. So Maya took Hedy Lamarr to Hollywood in 1938, began promoting her as the world's most beautiful woman.
Like in a circus?
Yeah.
Come on, right
up! What's very impressive about this part of her life as well is that she barely spoke any English at the time. She'd learnt enough phrases to sort of convince him to take her on, and that was it.
I love that.
Yeah. So, and by the time the boat arrives in New York, word had spread of her arrival, and crowds of reporters were there to interview and photograph Hedy Lamarr.
Really?
Yeah.
So, someone a name that had been invented on the way.
Yeah.
And was sort of unknown.
Yeah.
How did they get the info off the boat? It was the old times.
Telegraph. You could do telegraphs
Pigeons.
on boats.
On a boat?
Yeah, the Titanic had telegraphs on it, didn't it?
Really?
I reckon,
How?
surely. I have no idea, but yeah, that makes
I thought
sense.
it had to go through cords.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's
actually.
wild that they would
I'm thinking
even
of
be
the
like...
film Titanic.
Oh.
They were definitely doing something, weren't they? You could
Yeah,
get
weren't they
messages and
doing
stuff,
Morse code?
Yeah, but how'd that work? Don't at me. I don't care enough. And by the time you tweet at me to tell me, I've forgotten this. And I'll say, okay, whatever. So don't at me.
Yeah, so...
Maybe you send a letter. Fuck how they send letters.
Pigeon. So what...
Maybe just... I'm just going to believe Pigeon.
Why, like, Louis B. Mayer is just so well known as a star maker or something that he's gone, I've got the next biggest star in the world, you better get here. That's all it could have been, you think?
Absolutely.
Hey, it's your cousin. You know that new lady you've been looking for?
Get a load of this.
You're just holding the phone. I can just hear people talking in the background. No, trust me.
That's how beautiful she was. You could hear it.
You could hear it. I found this quote on a like a movie trivia website. I think it's wikipedia.org.
Oh, great.
It's got heaps of like movie trivia and stuff. It's really cool, quite comprehensive actually.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Wikipedia.org.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah. Check it out. It's pretty fun. Like any movie you could think of, it's probably on there.
You have
all of them.
You're such a computer whiz. You find these great websites.
Yeah. No, I am, and I do.
Do you also love gadgets?
Fuck, I love gadgets. I love to know how things work. You know,
not the telegraph of the Titanic, though. No,
don't tell me about it. I don't care. So this is a quote. It says, Mail loaned Lamarr to producer Walter Wagner, who was making Algiers in 1938. It was about a notorious French jewel thief hiding in the labyrinth native quarters of Algiers known as the Casbah. Feeling imprisoned by his self-imposed exile, he is drawn out of hiding by a beautiful French tourist who reminds him of happier times in Paris. That's nice.
Oh.
And she is a jewel thief, so
Yeah.
She was also imprisoned a little bit.
Yeah, so she could really relate to this role. Lamarr was cast as the lead opposite Charles Boyer. The film created a national sensation, and Hedy was billed as an unknown but well-publicised Austrian actress, which created anticipation in audiences. They were like, who's it going to be? A well-publicised but unknown. And
what is that? Feels like
fun.
An oxymoron.
Well, according to one viewer, when her face first appeared on the screen, everyone gasped. Lamarr's beauty literally took one's breath away. It's so...
I can't imagine.
I want to see her.
Like, who's the hottest person in the world now?
I know. I don't know.
I can't picture anyone taking my breath away.
No.
That's so... Like, I just...
It's so strange, isn't it? I mean, it's like... But it's this universal thing. Like, it happens throughout her entire life, all through her career. And so many people talk about how, like, you would see her on screen or you would see her in person and just, like, you could not look at her. And I just can't relate to that.
Do we just see more faces now? We're just used to seeing hot people more? I mean, maybe it's because we are hot people. We look in the mirror. We see hot people every day.
And true. And it doesn't take my breath away.
But back then, the people would just see the people they live with, the people at work.
And I wonder if...
Is that it?
Yeah, maybe. And they're all poor, and so therefore ugly.
Therefore ugly. Not like us,
they don't
rich
have
and
that,
hot.
that Hollywood $125 a week to make them beautiful. I'm thinking about, like, okay, the actors, let's say, Hollywood people that I find attractive... I think I find them attractive because they're either funny or, like, they're good looking, but I like them as a person too... I don't know. It's weird, isn't it?
Strange.
I believe that no one's lying, and I just want to experience it.
I know.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
I want to get just completely like, oh no.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not possible anymore.
Yeah. I want someone to walk into a room and me just like jaw drop. I want to I want to audibly gasp at someone's beauty. And I think that's too much to ask in this day and age, which is very disappointing.
That's so sad.
I want to audibly spoof when someone walks into the room.
What does that sound like? That's disgusting.
It's very old spoof, dusty.
It's been a while since anybody's taken your spoof away.
Take my spoof away.
So sorry.
I'm so glad that Cass basically gave me permission to go to places like that by saying spoof earlier.
Yeah. If you're feeling like you hate this, you started it.
I did. I think it was like last year or sometime. You said the word spoof, and I don't know if we were recording or not, but I remember being like, "Oh my god, I haven't heard spoof in a while.
Yeah.
That's staying."
There was for some reason an episode of this show that we and I started listing like Sprog.
Yeah,
spoof,
yes, it was
jizz.
this.
Yeah. Is this when you said? Will we?
That was an episode you were on, maybe.
Yeah, and I think did we come up with the phrase "boink me till I spoof"?
Boink! Oh man, boink is such a fun,
Boink
bouncy
is
word.
great.
Boink
Yeah, boink is
feels onomatopoeic, but not for sex.
No,
it sounds like
if sex was slapstick,
Yeah.
that's boink.
sounds like a watermelon that bounces a little bit if you've
Yeah.
dropped it.
Yeah,
Boink.
yeah.
Exactly like sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way I do it. So yeah, everyone's gasping at the mere sight of her. For the next few years, she's invariably typecast as the glamorous seductress, usually of exotic origin, which to an American audience is anywhere not America. 1940s American Western boomtown had Hedy starring alongside Clark Gable, and her performance solidified her career. It really made her a star. Over the next 4 or 5 years, she filmed 3 movies a year alongside names like Spencer Tracy, Judy Garland, and she also married Gene Markey, a screenwriter and producer. And apparently people, like one person in this documentary I watched was like, she could have married anyone and she chose Gene. Like he was like plain looking and they're like, what are you But she married Jean.
I imagine her talking like that too. That's fantastic.
She could have had anyone she wanted. She chose Jean.
You sound like I saw that old sketch from Saturday Night Live. I think it's Elizabeth Taylor trying to turn off a lamp. Isn't it? It sort of sound like that.
I haven't, but I already like it.
Yeah. Played by what's her name? She's in a lot of stuff. She's in the that Ghostbusters when it was all women.
Is it Kate?
Not Kate McKinnon. Generation before that.
Oh, generation before that.
Oh,
it doesn't matter.
Has her face a bit long? A bit of a long face?
I don't
Not
know.
in a bad way. It's just a bit longer. And was she in Bridesmaids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Kristen Wiig?
Kristen Wiig, yes.
Okay. Generation before. Yes, okay. Yeah, good one. And even the voice I was just doing was Kristen Wiig, essentially.
Great.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right.
Short for Kristen Hedwig.
So she and Jean adopted a son, James. But after a few months of marriage, Jean was dating other beautiful young women.
Jean, what the fuck?
What?
And Jean,
Plain
let's remember,
old Jean?
plain Jean. He can't have anybody, but apparently he can. So Jean's got money and a big dick. That's what we know.
Yeah.
That's what we know.
No, that's so shattering.
I
This
know.
is like when Beyonce came out and she's like, Jay-Z cheated on me. It's like, well,
That-
I
yeah.
guess we're packing it in, aren't
Yeah.
I know, that was wild, wasn't it? It's like, what the fuck's
In
going
what
on?
fucking universe do you cheat on Beyonce?
Just-
Are
yeah,
you
what a
kidding me?
fucking-
That was
What is wrong with you?
Fuck,
If you
Jesus.
get Beyonce, you spend every day going, what the? I got Beyonce? And you make her a cup of tea. And you just treat her like the queen that she is.
She'd be one of the hottest people in the world,
100%.
right? But I still doesn't take my breath away. I'm just like, holy shit.
I know.
Look at Beyonce.
Like, at the first one I thought of, I was like, Margot Robbie. She's stunning. So beautiful.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Symmetrical faces
It's like
all
bit-
round.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt's one of those people who's been hot for like he's now sort
Yeah.
of older man hot, but
Yeah.
he's still super hot.
Leo, like Titanic Leo. Jesus Christ, so hot.
Nah, I don't
Didn't
see
take my
it.
breath away?
Don't see
No.
it.
It's weird,
Leo,
isn't it?
I don't see it.
You don't think
I
Leo's
when you said Jean, I pictured Leo. When you
Okay.
said plain,
plain, boring?
yeah, that's Leo. Like he seems like a nice guy. don't
And
get me
Leo
wrong.
dates a lot of young women.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
So, yeah, he's a real Gene. All right, that's who we're casting as Gene.
Okay.
So yeah, their marriage sort of fell apart a few years later in 1941. While the Hollywood it girl image is usually associated with parties, glamour, and luxury, Hedy would come home after long days of filming and work on her hobby, inventing.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she's really cool.
I love
Like
it.
she was genuinely like the roles that she was given often didn't have, some of them didn't have a whole bunch of like dialogue for her, or it would be
She still hadn't learned English.
well, and also she was just there to be beautiful.
Also,
Um,
that's good. She can save all her brain space for machines.
Yeah, but she
Yeah.
was just bored by the films that she was making. She was like, this is fucking boring. So she would come home and like work on projects and work on inventions. And hearing her talk about it as a much older woman, she was like, inventions just come so easily to me. Like they just pop into my head. I'm just like, oh yeah, what about this?
She
What
came
did
up
she
with the
invent?
toaster.
Really?
Yeah, she's like, bread. Imagine that it was like a little bit cooked.
Yeah, imagine if it was just a
Again.
bit charred on the outside. Let's give that a go.
Yeah, double cooked. I hadn't even thought about that. Bread's already cooked.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Toaster's double cooked?
You've only just thought of that.
Bloody hell. That has spoofed my brain.
Matt, no!
Does that work?
No!
But when we're 2 years into the Second World War now.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, glad I got out of there.
Yeah. It was a good call. Among
She's starting to think Adolf Hitler's not all he seemed to be.
He never did compliment my salads at the dinner parties, did he?
one of the inventions that she worked on, and she said it was like, it didn't quite work, but something that she thought of because of the war, people didn't have Coca-Cola. And so she thought of making it just like a cube that you could just add to water and it would, what's the word? Like it would dissolve.
Yeah.
And you would have
She
Coke.
invented Barocca.
Well, what she did make, she was like, it tastes a bit too, it's just like Alka-Seltzer. It's not quite what I was going for. But like she had that sort of idea and she worked on it for a while and stuff. But it's pretty interesting.
So she was good at ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, that's what so much of inventing is. And that's what a few people sort of said. It's like not the hard part, but like there's multiple different elements to inventing a new thing. And just because you don't have the engineer brain for it, you just need the people that have the ideas.
Yeah, it's what is it? Is it? I don't know if this saying is relevant. Is it something like 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration?
Yeah.
So it's most of it is making it happen, which is the tough bit. It's like Leonardo da Vinci.
Yes.
Invented a helicopter, sort of, but he drew it. And he thought of it, but it didn't actually get made till...
And Hedy wasn't just ideas. She had a good sort of understanding of how things worked, or she was good at, like, finding out how things worked. But, yeah, she's not an engineer. She's not an actual scientist, but she's got these ideas. Among the few people who knew of her inventiveness was aviation tycoon and past topic Howard Hughes.
Played by Leonardo da Vinci in the film The Aviator.
In fact... She suggested he change the rather square design of his aeroplanes, which she thought looked too slow, to a more streamlined shaped, based on pictures of the fastest birds and fish she could find.
Sick.
She said, I got a book of fish, and I got a book of birds. And I said, make this...
Mush them together.
Yeah, she's like, make this bit look more like a fish, make this bit look more like a bird. And Howard Hughes did that.
That's very clever.
That's great.
So she helped planes go faster, which he was trying to do to help the war. So she was like, here's how you make a fast plane. Your plane's too slow, boy.
She was like, this is my karma, like, fixing itself.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll do this as my penance.
And she does even more. From Wiki, Lamarr discussed her relationship with Hughes during an interview, saying that while they dated, he actively supported her tinkering hobbies. So she's sort of like, yeah, we kind of dated, but he was more like, he was really supportive of my inventing. He put his team of scientists and engineers at her disposal, saying they would do or make anything she asked for.
Aww.
So she would just be like, hey, can you guys whip this up for me? They'd be like, no worries, Hedy.
Like cocktails, or she's sitting by the pool. Can you whip up a martini for me?
You know what? I could go just a toasted cheese sandwich.
What's toast? Wow.
Would I say no to a martini with it? Of course not. I'm not an idiot. I'm Hedy Lamarr. So when she'd moved to America, she was told, as were many other actresses from that area of Western Europe, not to talk about their religious background, sort of where they'd come from. And it was because, like, World War II was happening and things weren't great.
Yeah.
And during World War II, German U-boats were attacking ships filled with people trying to escape the war. And Lamarr learned that radio-controlled torpedoes, which was an emerging technology in naval war at the time, could easily be jammed and set off course. So essentially, like, they made torpedoes that they could kind of control the direction of them. Because if you shot at something and it's moved, and you're like, well, that's a wasted torpedo, but you could move them a little bit. But the Germans would be able to jam that signal, meaning you couldn't communicate. So she thought of creating a frequency-hopping signal that could not be tracked or jammed. She contacted her friend, composer and pianist George Antheil, to help her develop a device for doing exactly that, and he succeeded by synchronizing a miniature player piano mechanism with radio signals. So essentially what would happen instead, it's sort of like dialing your radio, right? So you go to like 107.5 in Melbourne, and that's Triple J. In this one, like you would, your boat and the torpedo would be on the same wavelength, but then the enemy would be able to block that wavelength, so you can't. And so what they did was the torpedo and the boat would both have like timers, essentially, where they would at the exact same time change radio frequencies, and they would do that multiple times so that they could always be communicating with each other and it was impossible to jam it. Very clever.
That is very clever.
So good.
Took me a really long time to try and figure out how to explain it.
But once you got the Triple J thing in your head,
I was like,
107.5,
they said,
okay.
like, if you think of a radio, and I was like, I'm listening. I don't know how radios work. I know what buttons I need to press, but I don't know how they work on the other end.
Do you reckon the Germans who are being told to torpedo the boats of people fleeing war, they might have been like, hang on, are we the bad guys here? Killing innocent people, like just civilians fleeing.
So that ship of just women and children, I should
Blow that one up.
torpedo. You got it, boss.
Oh, we're getting it. Okay. And what do we? So then we go and get them off the. No.
And so do we have enough little boats to go get him, or we're not going to get him?
Okay. But this is all part of our righteous plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is to make the
yeah.
world better. Okay.
And those are bad people who have just done bad things. Oh, no, they're all just innocent. Okay.
Okay. And they're trying to escape the horrors of war that we cause.
Oh, it's interesting.
That we cause. Oh, okay.
So they're just trying to get to safety and we're just following them out. Okay, yeah, no, cool. So yes, they've they drafted designs for this frequency hopping system, which they had patented. They got the patent for it. However, it was technologically difficult to implement, and at that time, the U.S. Navy was not receptive to considering inventions coming from outside the military.
They weren't receptive to inventions that could help them win the war.
Yeah, we're
Not if
kind
they're
of
not
sticking
coming
with
from
what
inside.
we got.
Yeah, I think-
Yours jam. Oh, yeah, but we know that they jam.
Yeah.
We don't know you.
Okay. And so Lamarr and Antheil essentially took this patent to the Navy and were like, here you go. And the Navy took the patent, locked it away, brushed them off. And Hedy was told that she'd be more help with the war if she just used her star power to sell war bonds. She'd just come up with a fucking...
They based Captain America on her?
Yeah.
The first movie?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, probably. A war bond, it's like an initiative by a government to fund military operations. Essentially, people just invest in the war, which is a bit of fun.
So they took her patent, they buried it,
Yeah.
and then after the war they said, is this your patent? And it was one of the best reveals ever. That Navy officer was the great Bambini. Is that a magician?
Nah,
No,
it's a baseball player.
That's Babe Ruth.
Yeah. So she did that. She went and sold war bonds. She was like, fine, I'll go to events. I'll go to, whatever. And she appeared at so many events. One of them I heard, like, they had a plant in the audience, essentially, and she'd sort of make jokes of, like, oh, should I, like, I'll kiss a random person. And she'd bring this guy up on stage and she'd be like, only if we sell enough war bonds, then I'll give him a smooch. And it was the same guy. It was like a friend of hers.
And people are going,
People falling
I want
for
to
it.
see those two kiss.
I know. So
Weird
fucking
is
weird.
that?
But she sold $25 million in war bonds, which is over $300 million today.
Holy hell.
So
God,
they were
she's
like,
powerful.
thanks for this cute little invention, Toots. You'd be a little more helpful to us if you went and raised some money. So she's like, okay. And she raised a fuckload of money.
I've never really... So war bonds are kind of investments or...
I think so. I find them kind of confusing. So they're like, it's like, yeah, the public can kind of buy these war bonds. And I think... I don't know if they ever sort of get their money back, or I'm not really sure exactly how it works. It seems a little confusing.
I'll just quickly say, please tweet at Jess an explanation in detail.
Yep.
Ideally over multiple tweets.
It's important to know what a war bond is. Don't thread them. Do not thread them.
Yeah.
Separate tweets.
Yeah, don't make it easy. Make me work for it.
Don't number them.
Yeah, don't number them. Just yell that information into the ether. I'll get it. I'll get it all. Thank you.
Is this your patent?
I don't know what the bit is. I don't get it.
There's no real bit there.
Okay, all right.
I'm just trying
wanted to
stuff.
help.
Every now and then I haven't said something for a little bit. And I think,
It's talking time.
Yeah, but
Here comes Maddie.
if you could edit that out, that'd be great.
Nah, that will be staying in.
Like the great Bambini, I have a few swings, a few misses.
Hey, don't we all?
I pointed to the stand, and I had a big fresh airy. It was a curveball.
Yep.
I made no contact.
So after all this effort, fundraising and inventing for America, MGM put her in 1942 film White Cargo, in which she played a seductive native woman. Way too much spray tan. Hard to say because it's a black and white film, but it definitely looks like blackface. The movie was considered a dirty picture. It was essentially made to entertain horny troops. They were like, hey, it's the war. The boys are, they've got to give them something. And you know what men love.
Oh, we know what men love.
Men love dirty films.
Big
And
spoof.
they love to watch them with all of their friends.
Yeah.
Sit around in the cinema, get horny with their mates.
Nothing better than getting horny together with your mates.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Women don't do that.
No,
You know?
and what a sad part of
there's
the world we
definitely-
miss out on.
Yeah.
There's definitely no all-male strip reviews
Yeah,
that
I
women
know.
go to.
No,
It's
and
weird.
it's sad they haven't invented it.
Yeah.
Sad there's no men who do it even.
Yeah,
Might be a
no
gap in
men
the
down
market,
under
actually.
in particular.
Yeah.
or-
Yeah.
I know. I don't know about other parts of the world, but you're right. We don't have men down under.
No,
There's no
we don't.
men down under.
Nothing
There's
magical
no,
for us to see.
No
Yeah.
mics. No mics with any sort of
I
magical
know. So
powers.
it is disappointing. Anyway.
Women need to learn how to spoof.
God.
Thank you for being a feminist.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm an ally.
Women deserve to spoof.
Women deserve to spoof just
Yeah.
as much as anyone else.
It was a bit of a reflection of the way Louis B. Mayer viewed Hedy Lamarr, because most definitely because of her role in Ecstasy, he kind of he thought of her as sort of trashy, promiscuous, you're like, yeah. So he put her in this kind of role, and because of Mayer's opinion of Hedy Lamarr, she began to gain a reputation as being difficult, but in reality, he was trying to keep her on a short leash, and she was saying, nah, fuck that. Like, he wasn't treating her well, and she was pushing back, and so that gave her a reputation as, like, a bit of a diva, hard to work with, a difficult person. It's very frustrating. So in an unheard move for a woman at the time, she formed a production company, made a couple of her own movies. They were thrillers. One was called The Strange Woman in 1946 and Dishonoured Lady in
That's when you
1947.
sit on a woman for long enough that they go numb.
You shouldn't do that. Don't sit on women till they go numb. Don't. Cut it out. Anyway, so she's like formed her own production company. She's making her own movies. She doesn't really have like the skills, training, whatever, to be producing these big movies, but she's fucking giving it a crack, and that's pretty cool.
Good on her.
By this time, she was married to her third husband, actor John Loder, and together they had 2 children, Denise and Anthony, born in 45 and 47. And it was later revealed that the son she'd adopted with Jean Markey, James, was in fact the biological son of John Loder and Hedy Lamarr. So James had been conceived out of wedlock, and then Hedy married somebody else and adopted her own son. With
the perfect crime.
Yeah. I think this was found out like way down the track. I think James might have found that out as an adult. But James became kind of estranged from his mother.
The reverse, like, I know it doesn't really happen, I don't think, as much anymore, but people would used to keep it a secret that a kid was adopted, and then kids would often find out later.
Yeah.
Now I think people will more likely just tell their kids they're adopted from the start.
Yeah.
It's not a dirty secret anymore.
No, it's not a bad thing.
But back then she had to come clean and tell the kid, no, you're actually my biological son.
Yeah, he's like, no. Yeah, I think it was as he was an adult. But he was estranged from his mum from about the age of 12, and they didn't speak for about 50 years.
50?
Wow.
40, 50 years they didn't speak. And it wasn't because of this, I don't think. Like I said, I think he found out more as an adult. He was sort of sent off to like a boarding school kind of thing, and like had a great connection with like one of the sports coaches or something, and the sports coach and his wife took him in, and he like called his mum one time and was like, can I just live with them? Just fucking brutal. But and he talks about it in a documentary, and he's like, I can understand she was hurt. It was a bit of a slap in the face. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a bit strange. But anyway, her other 2 children talk about her being a really wonderful, warm and loving mum. Again, a bit of like a thing you don't... In some of these old sort of Hollywood stories, they've usually been treated badly by their parents. They're not always the best parents themselves.
Yeah.
Her kids like speak really, really highly of their childhoods.
Oh.
Have we spoken about the patent? Is it still locked up by the Navy?
Yeah, it's still locked up.
Till this day, or
Nah.
where we're at in the story?
Where we're at, yeah. So, yeah, she spent as much time as she could with her kids, taught them to swim. They had really happy and comfortable childhoods. Their father, John Loder, left when the kids were quite young, and Hedy raised them by herself with the help of her mother, Trude, who had by this time made it to America and lived close by.
I love that name, Trude.
Yeah, Gertrude, called her Trude.
Oh, sick.
Trude sort of had to flee Austria in the
why?
war. Yeah.
Weird.
It was just like wasn't the vibe at the time. So, yeah.
Jewelry in the coat.
Yeah.
She made a maid sleep and then left in the night.
It's beautiful. Made a maid sleep.
Made a maid sleep.
Off to sleep. But raising the children alone and putting so much money into self-producing films left Hedy not quite as financially comfortable as she should have been. Luckily, she heard that Cecil B. DeMille, everyone's got a middle initial.
That means the mill in French.
He was casting a new movie, Samson and Delilah. She approached Cecil and expressed enthusiasm for the role, and she was cast as Delilah. The film was a huge success, winning 2 Oscars, and was the highest-grossing film of 1949 and the second highest of the decade, with only Gone with the Wind surpassing it.
Wow.
That is very impressive.
Yeah.
Gone with the Wind's insane.
Exactly. And to be the second highest grossing of the decade, and it came out in 1949. Like, you've just blown everything away. So cool. So she's like doing quite well for a while. That's sort of, given her another little boost. She's making some more stuff
I
again.
thought Gone with the Wind came out in 39.
I don't know.
Why would I know
Well, if it
that?
was 39 to 49, that's 10 years.
I guess that counts.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
I think that's 11 years. But anyway,
Oh,
still.
Still.
Still pretty good.
Decades were longer back then.
Yeah, we've shortened decades. I think it was 66 we shortened the decades.
Oh, yeah. They made them different back then. They lasted longer. Your pants lasted longer. The decades lasted longer.
Your fridges lasted longer. Bloody hell. I don't
But
make anything to last anymore.
anymore.
So her success and buzz soon dwindled again, and in the early 50s, she had a few unsuccessful films and another unsuccessful marriage to nightclub owner and restaurateur Ted Stolfer. They were married just from 51 to 52, a fairly short marriage there. In 53, she married wealthy Texas oil man Howard Lee, and the family moved to Texas, where Hedy found herself in the position of trophy wife once again. On a holiday to Aspen, Hedy came up with the idea of designing and building a ski resort. So she convinced Howard to purchase land, and Villa Lamarr was born. She built a freaking really fancy, beautiful ski resort.
When she gets bored, a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah. It's like, what a life you've really lived. After several years of marriage to Howard Lee, Hedy and Howard divorced, and in the divorce proceedings, she said, "All I want is Aspen." He was a very wealthy man. She's like, "Keep it all, I don't give a shit. But Aspen's my project, my baby. Like, I want Aspen." Which I think was, like, fairly agreed upon. But this is tragic. As the divorce proceedings were underway... Okay, I said this is tragic, and then I'm going to say something that's going to sound like it's quite tragic, but I'll tell you now he's fine. Hedy's 11-year-old son, Tony, was in a car accident and was in hospital with some bad injuries. So she sent... This is incredible. Divorce proceedings underway. She's been called to court for this divorce, but she's with her son in hospital. So she sends her Hollywood body double to court in her place.
The maid.
Back.
Still groggy.
Which I think is like, it's a bold move to go, well, this will work.
Especially when your face is so famous.
Exactly. The judge was pretty unimpressed, and as punishment, she was completely cut out of the divorce settlement. That's the sort of fucked bit. Tony was fine, but this whole sort of situation led to what she described as a nervous breakdown. Tony made a full recovery, but Hedy began a bit of a downward spiral. She married for the 6th time, marrying her divorce lawyer, Louis J. Boyce, and divorced him 2 years later. And after Louis, she remained unmarried for the remainder of her life. So
being divorcing from a divorce lawyer, you wouldn't feel too good about your chances in court.
Yeah, he's really going to take everything. By the 70s, Hedy was living a fairly reclusive life. A lifetime of scrutiny and focus on her appearance made her increasingly self-conscious, and she kept to herself, not even seeing family. There was sort of, in the doco, there was sort of talk about like plastic surgery she was having, and then people were sort of obsessed with that, and so they'd go to plastic surgeons and be like, I want what Hedy's had done, and it sort of got really out of hand, as it often does.
When all your value is put in your face, aging would be particularly brutal.
Exactly,
That would be horrific to just be like, oh, no one will listen to me unless I am beautiful. Oh, well, okay, I can walk into a room and get what I want, and then all of a sudden that is gone. You're like, well, no one has listened to me. I guess no one will listen to me.
Exactly. And I do sort of feel like, I was talking to some friends about this recently, I sort of feel like the perception of people having plastic surgery or any kind of cosmetic surgery, I think the perception's changed quite a bit now. Like when I was growing up, it was really like, you'd roll your eyes, or you'd really judge people who had had any kind of cosmetic surgery. And like sitting around in a group of women in our early 30s, and people have had Botox, and people are talking about doing things, and it's like, yeah, cool, whatever. Like I think it's changed a lot, but this is, in the 70s, and it was, I think it was still very much
really different.
Exactly right.
There's also the technology hadn't come on quite as much as well, so it was way riskier probably.
Yeah, that's very true. Sadly, all good things must come to an end, and Hedy Lamarr passed away from heart disease in January 2000, the age of 85.
Oh my God, good innings.
Yeah.
And her son Anthony spread her ashes in the Vienna woods in Austria as per her final wishes. But just to note as well, because Matt, you were asking about what happened with the patent. In the early 60s, at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, US Navy ships were sent to form a blockade of Cuba. And all the Navy ships were equipped with frequency hopping radios.
Yes.
Hey.
Hedy's patent had been used more than a decade after the patent had been handed to them to help in World War II. In order for Hedy to get paid for the patent, the Navy would need to use it before it expired in 1959. Patents all kind of expire, and they were like, well, we didn't. It's 1962. We didn't use it before 1959.
Oh.
There's evidence, though, that they had given the patent to a contractor to work on around 1955, who then used it to design a sonar buoy, which would allow Navy ships and passing aircrafts to communicate securely. According to US patent law, the inventor has 6 years after the patent expires to sue for payment. Hedy didn't know or didn't find out in time.
Fucked.
I know that it had been used or that she should have been paid.
It's so weird. Such a an obese the amount of money that's spent on defense in America,
I know,
especially,
right?
but in a lot of countries.
Yeah.
And they're tight about just paying the person who invented the technology.
Yeah.
That sucks so much.
It sucks so much.
Jesus.
There was this article written by Fleming Meeks for Forbes magazine in 1990, and it's kind of a bit of a focus of this documentary that's on Stan if you're in Australia. It's called Bombshell. It was the first time that it was sort of brought to light that Hedy's appearance wasn't all that she had to offer. Bringing her invention to the public meant that others explored it. And the first to do so were people in communications technology. So he essentially wrote about this frequency hopping thing, which then other people read that and went, that's interesting. And frequency hopping and Hedy's patent have led to things like GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and the Milstar satellite system, which provides protected, secure communication for the President of the United States.
Oh my God.
The market value of her invention is about $30 billion. GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all stuff we use every single day.
Thank you, Hedy. Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy? While the last years of her life seemed to have been a bit lonely and isolated, she was an incredible person. She had 30 films in the span of 28 years. Iconic characters were modelled after her, like Snow White and Catwoman. Literally the look of Snow White is Hedy Lamarr. And an underappreciated invention that is now the basis of things that we use on a daily basis. All because an incredibly beautiful woman also had a brain.
Oh.
Fleming Meeks, this is in his article in Forbes, he wrote, in her Hollywood days, Lamarr was often quoted as saying, any girl can be glamorous. All she has to do is stand still and look stupid. Glamorous she was. Stupid she was not.
Thanks,
a beautiful poetic line there from Fleming Meeks. But yeah, that's the story of a pretty wild life. A successful acting career, 6 marriages, 3 kids, and an invention that is now worth $30 billion and that we all use on a daily basis.
Jesus.
How cool is that?
So cool.
That's amazing.
And so there would have been, in her life, she would have been aware of the invention and how big an effect it was having?
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, even though she didn't make any money out of it, but it doesn't sound like she was really money hungry anyway.
Nah.
Especially after the divorce of the Texan man.
She was pretty, I think she was a bit frustrated that, she wasn't given the credit that she deserved.
Yeah.
She was honoured in an award by Milstar, I think, but she's pretty reclusive by that time, so Anthony accepted the award, and she was just sort of grateful that people were appreciating, what she had come up with.
Yeah, it's nice that she lived to see that.
Exactly, yeah. Because, like we said, you've had your whole life of people, literally, she'd be saying, she'd say something really interesting and they'd be like, shh, 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 shh. So beautiful. Aren't you beautiful? That would be so frustrating. So for her to get the recognition that, she had a brain and it was a bloody good one is, it's nice that she got a bit of it, but it's not quite the satisfying ending you want for her.
No.
So it's a pretty wild life. Everybody who suggested it, nearly everyone was like, it's a tragic but amazing life. And yeah, I think I agree with them.
Yeah. Oh, great work. Well told.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so
well
much.
researched.
Well, I do my best.
So, Cass, I think you got to run before we do our everyone's favourite section of the show. But where can people find if they want to hear more of you?
If you want to hear more of me, go to sanspantsradio.com. I'm on D&D's for Nerds. Why am I sad? And shut up a second. And I'd love to hear from you hearing from me. You can go to @CassCass Paige across all the socials I have. If you can't find me there, I'm not there.
That's Paige with an I.
Yeah, because I am Cass.
Yeah. That's your stage name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Birth name was no I.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Because then people wouldn't know it was me.
Yeah.
It was I. Twas I.
Was I?
The Cass
Which is your
online.
Cass phrase.
Yeah. Well, I better spoof off.
What an exit. Thanks, Cass.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Well, Jess, it is now time for everyone's favourite section of the show, the fact, quote, or question section, which I think has a jingle that goes something like this.
Fact, quote, or question.
Ding! I always remember the ding. In this section of the show, we like to thank a bunch of our supporters. Despite what some snarky commenters say, this section goes for about 30 to 40 minutes every week, and it isn't growing in length.
Bloody hell. They just don't stop thanking us.
There's always these comments like...
That's really funny.
Yeah, really... Oh, the episodes are getting longer. Yeah, probably mainly just the end bit. And the end bit goes about the same. The reports vary in length.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get to me. Don't worry about that. Sorry that we thank people at the end of the episode.
Yeah, so sorry.
But yeah, for those people, you definitely don't have to listen to this bit, even though it is everyone's favourite section of the show.
Yeah.
No pressure in any way. So we like to thank a bunch of our supporters. These are the people who keep this show going. So if you like the report bit, then you should also be grateful to these people. And if you want to join in on the supporting, you can do so at patreon.com/dogoonpod or dogoonpod.com. There's a bunch of different levels. You get all sorts of different rewards. You get, at any level, you get to go be in the Facebook group, which is the nicest corner of the internet. You can also vote on topics. Was today a personal choice, or is it a
personal choice this week? But we still have a look through the hat.
Yeah, and Dave and I, that means Dave and I at the moment are putting our topics up to the vote. You also get discounted tickets. You can hear about tickets before everyone else for live shows and a bunch of other things. Including, if you're on the Sydney Scheinberg level, you get to give us a fact, a quote, or a question. Sydney Scheinberg, obviously, being the great producer of films like Back to the Future, who I think was one of the first 20 episodes we talked about Back to the Future. And
was it that long ago?
I think so.
Whoa.
When we learn about the great Sydney Scheinberg.
Wow.
Someone recently, I saw another comment, someone saying, why do they always mention Sydney Scheinberg? What does that mean? We did do an episode about him, and he was also talked about.
Yeah.
But that's what the reference is for. Anyway, on that level, you get to give us a fact, a quote, or a question, and I read out 4 each week. The first one this week comes from, I believe, long time supporter, great man. He was a guest on Primates one time, but I think this is his first fact, quote, or question. It's coming from Brian Colella, and you also get to give yourself a title as well as giving us a fact, quote, or question, or brag, or suggestion.
Yeah, it can be anything, really.
Pretty much anything you like.
If you want to do a recipe, I don't care. Just write anything in there.
Fantastic suggestion, that is.
Thank you.
If I was doing one, I'd be doing it's not mine, but the lemonade scones, which I baked last week, and they were pretty good. 3 ingredients.
Yeah.
I think it's 3.5 cups of self-raising flour, 1 cup of milk, and 1 cup of lemonade.
Yeah.
No, not 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of thickened cream.
Oh.
And then you chuck it all in a bowl and you just stir it, but not too much. Then you flop it onto your like a bench or whatever.
Yep.
With a bit of flour, extra flour. Roll it, sort of pat it down a little bit more into a disc, and then cut it out into the things. Put it in the pan, into the oven. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bang.
My mum always used a small glass to to cut them out.
Yep.
And the sound of it is one of my favourite childhood sounds.
Yes.
It made such a satisfying sound.
And it's a weird thing, but because I never made scones before, but it took me right back to childhood. Even like the little offcuts of the dough, I ate a bit of it, which is such a strange flavour, but it just was like, it made me feel so nostalgic for being a kid and mum baking scones, which of course you put cream on and then jam.
Whatever.
Anyway, Brian Colella has given himself the title Milk Drinker Extraordinaire.
Okay, Brian, we
'Cause I know
are different people.
Brian does do a podcast about milk.
Okay, I
About
didn't know
drinking
that.
milk. I wish I could remember what it's called, but I think it's all about drinking milk.
Okay.
And Brian has offered us a brag/plug. Oh, this may well be about that podcast. I should say I don't read these out until I read them out.
We're about to find out.
And Brian writes, Daniel Kay and I just recorded our 50th episode of our podcast, Milking It.
Well, that's
We
good.
started recording around the start of the pandemic just for a laugh, but it ended up being so much fun to make that we kept going. Having it as a creative outlet was one of the things that helped me survive those early stages of isolation and adapt to staying at home forever. I think it's a really fun podcast, mostly because I have a lot of fun making it, mostly because Daniel Kay is really funny. Recording has been sporadic lately, partly because the United States is deeply uncreative when it comes to flavoured milks. Is that true?
Wow.
I don't know. I'm always surprised by, because, so much American culture filters through to us. I'm always surprised when we have things that aren't, because we have a ridiculous array of flavoured milks.
Yeah.
The ones
Big
that make
M's
no sense.
always coming out with specials.
Yeah,
and
Egg Flip was one of their classic
Yeah.
ones, Blue Heaven, and
Yeah.
they're doing ones that shouldn't be.
What was the flavour of Egg Flip? What flavour is that?
I think it's meant to be like egg, like a fried
How
egg
the
or something.
fuck would I... Oh, sorry, I don't eat eggs, so that's
And there's
disgusting
that
to me.
Super Duper range that
Yeah,
came
that's
out.
what I'm thinking
like,
of, yeah.
Like icy pole flavoured milk. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's so strange.
I was always a strawberry Big M kid or banana
Same.
Big M.
Nah, I hate a banana. I
Interesting.
like banana, but not banana flavoured things.
Right. Well,
So
because banana
strawberry for
flavour
me.
apparently is what banana used to taste like lolly banana and that.
Oh.
Or something. I think
yeah,
that's the
that
theory.
vaguely rings a bell.
I don't know.
50 episode, Brian. That's
Yeah,
great.
that's amazing. Anyway, yes, recording has been sporadic lately, partly because the United States is deeply uncreative when it comes to flavoured milks, but we're still going and we'll release at least 6 more episodes. Brian, you got to come back down to Melbourne sometime and you could do a whole run here.
Yeah.
Bonus fact, the name Milkin' It was suggested by Andy Matthews, previous guest of the show, some sort of scientist. And the original idea was that I would be milking the advantageous exchange rate while in Melbourne for the 2020 Comedy Festival and using my powerful US dollars to buy and drink all the flavoured milks in Australia. That idea died, but the concept lived on. Bonus quote, sorry for the super long, gratuitous, shameless plug. I love you all. That's a quote from Brian Colella. Bonus quote, moo moo everyone. That's from Daniel Kay.
That's nice.
You really did. You were milking your brag there, Brian.
And we love it.
And we loved every moment
We loved
of
it so much. And hey, you know.
He could have done a milk, like he's been on the Fat Quarter question level for
so long,
and that's his first one. So I think he deserved a long and juicy one there. Thanks so
Absolutely.
much, Brian, for all your support, you bloody legend.
Love you, Brian.
Next one comes from Jacob Giron. Maybe Giron. It's the kind of word that seems like it could have a soft G.
Yeah.
Jacob Giron, aka the owner of the 1993 Honda Civic with its lights on in the parking lot.
That's good.
Jacob is offering us a fact, writing, hey guys, hope the bopper is feeling better.
I am, thank you.
If I'm correct, Matt said my last name the French way, which is the best way. Oh my God, I think I just did it again. Anyways, just finished up the Le Mans episode and just heard a great Pittsburgh fact, so I decided that it's time for some Los Angeles fun facts tailored to Do Go On.
Great.
First fact is for the ass-packing fans who should be excited to note that Los Angeles Coroner's Office has a gift shop. Surely they must sell Green Bay Packers jerseys. The second fact is that
very
Los
funny.
Angeles owes its film industry to the low dog Thomas Edison, whose film patents on the East Coast caused filmmakers to flee west to avoid his intellectual property claims. Hopefully, Bop gives the okay on the fun of these facts. My confidence in life depends on it.
Well, God, luckily, that was a fun fact.
Anyway, thanks for all that you do, and can't wait to see you live in Los Angeles once all this blows over. Oh my God.
Oh, God.
That would be amazing.
That'd be so good.
Imagine us, we'll get a photo in front of the Hollywood sign. Probably from a distance while we're walking in a cab or something, driving by.
To an Irish pub.
We're probably. Thank you, Jacob. Next one comes from Michael Dorizzi, who is the Arrogant American. And he's also doing a brag, which is, I've been playing fantasy football for well over a decade, and I finally won my first championship thanks to Cooper Kupp and Austin Eckler. Absolutely demolishing my league mates. My team scored over 200 more points season long than the next best team. I also finished runner-up in the second league I'm in. I won $100, which I assume is 200 Canadian dollars and 500 Australian dollary dues. This was the most fun and successful fantasy season I've ever had, and can't wait for next year. That's 2 of the 3 so far that have had a crack at the Australian dollar.
Have I nailed it, or?
The Australian dollar is actually tipped to rise. They're thinking it could even top out at 80 US cents coming up. So
that would be actually really great for me with a holiday planned to Hawaii.
Fantastic.
That would be very convenient for me.
Let's hope that happens. Thank you very much, Michael. That's great. I played my first fantasy football league this season and was on top of the table all season, but I lost the final by less than 2 points. And it was because I had my 3 key players all play for the Packers. The quarterback Rodgers, running back and wide receiver Devontae Adams, and they got benched with 8 minutes to go because they were flogging the other team, and it was coming up to their playoffs, so they were just resting the players. So I'm like, you are freaking kidding me. But that's how that goes. Anyway, and finally James Edwards. What are you laughing at there?
I'm remembering that in last week's episode, we brought James Edwards into the Triptych Club, and Dave said he wished Matt was Deadwoods, and so that just made me laugh. Sorry.
James Edwards, who I recall as being one of the great laughers. We mentioned this most times we bring him up. One of the great laughers when we were over in London. And I always think when I say that must come across like no one's laughing if you can remember the name of a laugher.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember everyone who's laughed at my jokes by name.
Because there was just so
particularly few. At the Bill Murray show, he just had a riotous laugh, and I met him later. And anyway, so James has the title Shoeshine Shop Sally's Supervisor. She sits and shines and shines and sits and shines.
Matt, you did so well there.
Yeah, did I pass that test?
Yeah, I reckon you did.
James has asked a question, writing, "Hey team, I hope you are all well and not getting too down with the COVID. Maybe there are some loose plans for some international live shows in the pipeline. Anyway, my actual question is, do you believe in aliens or anything supernatural, or have you had any supernatural experiences?" And then he answers his own question. Do you want to hear his answer first?
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
To answer my own question, I've had some strange experiences which could be described as supernatural. And I think it's unlikely we are completely alone in the universe, but have no evidence to back this up. Love the show. Keep doing what you're doing, and I hope to see you soon, James. XXX. Geez, a little bit vague there on what your supernatural experiences were. But, yeah, I would agree. I'm like... In my head, I'm like, the universe is so freaking big.
Yeah, it's so unlikely that we are the only things living in the universe, and all we've done with that is like made some roads and laws, and we have to get permits for things. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, fuck it, we've made all of this up.
Yeah, it is a funny thought.
And why have we chosen to make that up? It's a dumb rule. So, yeah, I believe there's got to be something out there. I don't think they're close. They're not, just on the next planet. But there's got to be something else out there, surely.
That's what I figure. But, I mean, I'm not at all a science guy. I'm no Hedy Lamarr.
And I don't think they're there, and they are aware of us, and they're coming to kill us. Like every, alien movie. I don't think they're probably going, so you reckon there's something out there? Nah.
Yeah, they're thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Or they're moss, you know?
Yeah,
They could be alien
exactly.
moss.
Yeah. And they're like, wow, they made roads.
I feel like supernatural things, you know, like I remember there have been funny coincidences through my life, I'm sure. The one time I reckon I remember when my granddad died, I could have sworn that he was sitting at the end of my bed one night that week. I could feel him there, and the lights were off. I couldn't see, but I could feel that he was there. And that now I just think I've probably created that to comfort myself at the time, but it felt super real at the time.
Even if you were dreaming, even if it was sort of an imagination, and who cares?
Yeah.
How cool is that our brains can do that?
Yeah, I love the idea. I wish it was true.
Yeah.
I'd love there to be, more to life.
That'd be lovely.
But I just can't quite get my head to believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? Do you recall any?
Nothing really. I think it's a similar kind of thing of weird little coincidences or assigning meaning to coincidences, and then if that brings comfort, so be it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kookaburras to me are that's a sign of my partner's dad who's gone.
Right.
I'm always like,
it's nice,
there he
isn't
is.
it?
Yeah. There was one at his funeral. There was a couple of them at his funeral, and then there was first time I visited the grave. I heard a kookaburra, and so now every time I hear a kookaburra, I think of him, and that's really nice.
That's great.
And it's probably not him reincarnated as a kookaburra, but if it brings any kind of comfort, then I think that's nice.
At Granddad's funeral, for some reason we, as a family, we picked this song for him. I think it was called Autumn Leaves. Can't remember, but and there were just lyrics in the song. It was like the time of the year, and it just like all these things were like, it's like, oh wow, that's eerie how much it connects, or if we made it connect to him and what we were going through. And then as that song played, as he was at the end of the funeral, an autumn leaf floated down and landed on the coffin.
No way.
And it just, obviously a coincidence, but it just felt, everyone's like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I mean, it's giving me tingles thinking about it now. Yeah,
that's amazing.
But yeah, thanks. That's a great question. Thank you, James.
Thanks, James.
And thanks to Michael, Jacob, and Brian.
Also, just a little shout out, few brags in there, and love to see them.
Yeah, that's right.
These are absolutely shameless brags. Especially in Australia, we're not very good at talking about good things that have happened to us. So if you got something great, go for it. Give us a brag. Love them.
Love to hear a brag. Yeah, especially when you're asking for them. When
Yeah,
people are wedging them into a conversation.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Sorry you lost your job. Anyway,
I still have mine, I'm doing quite well.
I just got a promotion.
The next thing we like to do is thank a few of our great supporters, some of our other supporters who are on the shout-out level or above. These people have been waiting a year or so. We just read these out in order of when people sign up. Jess, you normally come up with a bit of a game here.
That's true. What they invented?
Oh, yeah, great.
Maybe?
So, yeah, can you just slightly quickly recap Hedy's? It was a
frequency hopping technology, yeah.
I think that's so amazing.
But this means we're going to have to think up things.
Yeah, but I think
we'll
that is right in our wheelhouse.
We're not the engineers.
No,
but God, we can think of
ideas, people. Yeah. Bloody hell. All right, so if I could... Well, I've got 9 here ready because we normally do 3 each. But I'll do 5. How about that? You do 4?
Okay.
So to hog. First, I'd love to thank from Reservoir here in Melbourne, Victoria, Emma-lesque.
Oh, Emma-lesque.
That's because everyone, on Patreon, you pick your own... it's just your username or whatever. So we get some names that I love. I mean, that might just be their full name, but...
come up with... a way that you could be, because I'm looking at a whiteboard right now, right? I'm sitting in a comfortable chair and I'm in a good thinking position. And if I had an idea, I would have to get up, I would have to go over, find a marker, go, this one's dry, I've got to find another one, call someone, say, where do we keep the whiteboard markers?
Yes.
Then I have to go to the whiteboard. By this time, I've forgotten my idea.
Yeah.
So Emma-lesque has actually come up with a way that you can sort of not telepathically, but... you know how Stephen Hawking had that sort of computer technology where he'd use his eyes? it's that sort of thing on a whiteboard. So you can
Yeah.
just sit there, note down all your ideas just by looking at the whiteboard.
Yeah, fantastic.
So handy for like, busy mums as well. Making dinner for the family. Look at I'm out of garlic.
Yeah.
And then just look
They
at the
look at
little
the
shopping
whiteboard.
list. Garlic's added to it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that should be
Good
pretty
for
easy to do.
it's good for scientists and busy mums and
Yeah.
no one else.
We'll get the boffins onto it.
Teachers, that'd be really handy.
Yeah. I
know?
mean, I really think there'd be an application for nearly anyone on this. Don't you agree?
Oh! I reckon just scientists, teachers, busy mums. I think. Yeah.
No, you're right. Now that I think
No
about it.
dads allowed.
Thank you very much, MLS. Yeah, school kids they have to write lines.
No.
No.
How are they going to work on their penmanship then, Matt?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Well, they won't need to anymore.
Teachers have done their time.
But this is it's so funny. Like we stick with these things. We don't do that anymore. We don't have to work on our horse and cart skills anymore.
Yeah, that's right. But we do have to teach the children how to start a fire with just 2 twigs.
I imagine the kids of today they're never probably going to have to learn how to drive. By the time little kids are 18, it's probably all self-driving cars, right?
Oh, kids these days.
Oh my god,
it's
kids
so
never even
good.
had to learn how to drive a car.
Oh my god, Mum, you're so old school. You're driving a car.
It'll be a hobby thing. I'm going for a drive. Ooh, la-dee-da.
Yeah.
Bit of fun.
Like people who can still develop film.
Yeah.
Like,
You're going into your dark room. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Got a whole room just for being for no lights.
Mum's going for a drive manually.
All right, Grandma. I'd also love to thank from Rosetta in Tasmania,
It sounds
Australia,
beautiful.
David Loring.
David Loring.
David Loring invented teleportation.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so handy.
Because, people have thought of the idea, but he actually made it happen.
I feel like the inventions are going to get worse and worse as we go on. Are you feeling that as well? We've gone big.
Yeah, well, I feel like so far they've improved. We went from jotting ideas down to physically moving yourself from one place to another.
I think it's amazing.
I think they're going to get better and better.
Okay.
We're trending
You got
upwards, Bob.
so defensive.
How dare you? Well, I mean, you actually came up with an idea and I stole like one of the ones that's already out there.
You didn't steal anything. At this stage, it was just a concept.
That's right.
But David Loring made it a reality.
Yeah.
And we thank him for that because the airline industry, they're all gone.
Yeah, you've put a lot of people out of work.
Buses, trams, all pointless.
Pilots everywhere hate David Loring.
But,
You're on dartboards in airport lounges around the
and they
around the
put him
world.
on the dartboard just by looking at it.
Thank you, David. I'd also love to thank from Brown Hill in Victoria, Paige Winkle.
Paige Winkle. I got to say, Paige, that's a fucking great name.
Fantastic
Oh,
name.
my God. Paige Winkle.
Brown Hill as well.
Brown Hill's great. Victoria's great.
Brown
Everything's
Hill, it's like, how inspired were they when they were naming that town?
Brown Hill.
Paige Winkle, you got anything here? Because I'm thinking Paige Winkle invented a new sport.
Oh, yeah.
It sort of takes the best parts of croquet,
Yes.
fishing,
Yes.
hockey. Is that it? No, that's taking time off school.
Hockey?
Hockey.
Hockey.
What's that game where you throw little rings onto a
Oh,
board?
yeah. That's
also hooky?
Yeah.
And snooker.
Whoa.
And combines all that into a brand new game that is taking the world by storm.
And it's called...
Flow Bobo.
You made that noise and then looked at me with a look of continue.
Yeah.
like that was everything was fine.
Noise. I said the name of the sport.
Flow Bobo.
And you got to say it like that.
Yeah, every
People,
time.
if you say Flow Bobo, people are like, what are you?
I'm
what is
so
that?
sorry.
What
I'm
does that
not
even mean?
following you at all.
Great invention, Paige.
Well done, Paige.
From address unknown, can only assume deep within the fortress of the moles. It is Katie.
Katie invented a type of cardboard box that actually...
That's a hot start. This is a sexy invention. Cardboard box. Okay.
It's a type of cardboard box that has the capability to like break itself down. Because you know, when you're moving into a new place, you might get some new furniture, some flat pack, whatever. You end up with just a shit ton of boxes.
You're cramming them into the recycling bin.
Oh, God, and it takes forever, and you got to, some of them are quite big, and you got to cut them up into small pieces, or you got to just take them to the tip, and it's just annoying. These boxes have, a button on them. You press that, they break themselves down, fold themselves up, all nice and neat, and just off in the recycling. And it may seem like a simple thing, but, I mean, the guy who invented the little cardboard holder for a coffee cup is a billionaire. This is a great box.
Billionaire. We all know his name.
I'm trying. You're being so mean to me today.
I like how Katie could have invented it so it when you said it broke down, I assumed you meant into mulch that you put on your garden. But
that too.
That as well.
Yeah.
So you push a button and it folds down into a little box, and then you throw it on the garden.
No, you don't even have to throw it on the garden. It has little legs that come up and it goes.
It walks to the nearest bit of turf or grass or garden that
it finds
needs.
It buries itself.
It goes, they could use a little nutrients over here.
Nourishes the earth.
Yeah. And that is all Katie's work.
Sure, you could press a button and use that box again, but nah.
It makes sense that Katie, from deep within the Fortress of the Moles, invented something that does self-bury itself.
Exactly right.
And finally from me, I'd love to thank from Fremantle, beautiful Fremantle. It's all been Australia so far, if you assume the Fortress of the Moles is in Australia. I'd love to thank Christy Filipich. Christy Filipich,
oh, I love
who
that.
invented, horses.
Yeah.
Well, she invented...
small ones?
No, not small ones, tiny ones.
How tiny?
Like pocket-sized.
Horses?
Yeah, and you add water to them and they grow... They're AI, but if you feed them water, they grow to full horse size, but they're in your pocket. So you can, you ride a robot horse to work, and then...
how do you make it small to put it back in your pocket?
You go, whoa, Nelly.
Oh, okay, yeah, and that makes it
and
small.
And then they shrink down.
So why don't you just say hiya to make it big?
Oh, that's a good note.
The water.
That is a good note for Christy. Christy, maybe take that on board, because not everyone has water. And what happens if it rains?
Yeah, and then your pocket suddenly explodes.
Yeah.
That's such a good idea, though.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's just a tweaking. Only one tweak there that we're suggesting. Maybe just another word cue for it to...
Every time I
grow.
water the plants in my house and I'm carrying the watering can through the house, I always mime that I'm watering the dog to make him a big dog.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Bit of fun.
Maybe that's where Christy got the idea.
He's always like, what are you doing?
From watching you water your dog.
Stop watching me, Christy. But the horse idea, very good.
Would you like to thank a few of our great supporters?
I would absolutely love to. From Stanmore in New South Wales, I would love to thank Brendan Myhill.
Brendan. What has Brendan invented? You got something here?
Brendan has invented... what I was going to say is essentially a walkie-talkie.
Well, yeah, I was thinking the same. It's a walkie-talkie for smells.
Oh!
So you go, oh my God, this beautiful scent. Say you're going, I really wish someone could smell this beautiful flower.
Yeah.
So you just walkie-talkie it and you go, check out the smell over. They can also hear. And then, you just have a sniff.
Do you think people would use that for
It's a walkie-smelly.
Do you think siblings, for example, might use that to trick their siblings into smelling their farts?
Yeah, you go, hey, check out this beautiful smell I just created in the lab. And they smell and go, the lab's what I call my butt.
Yeah. It would be good for when you're shopping for a new perfume and you want your friend's opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think of this one? And they'll say, too woody for you.
Yeah, that's very woody.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, you're right. I was just letting you smell a tree.
Got ya.
You passed the test.
Well
All right,
done.
now here's a real scent for you to try.
So Brendan inventing
great invention,
the walkie-smelly.
The walkie-smelly.
I would also like to thank from Beaconsfield here in Victoria, Lydia.
I love the name Lydia. Beaconsfield. That's just outside Melbourne, isn't it?
Yeah, not too far. Lydia has invented a people always Google their symptoms and stuff.
Yeah. Dr. Google.
Yeah, WebMD and stuff like that. And people are always I'm dying. Well, Lydia has actually invented a testing system. It's sort of like, it was inspired actually by like rapid tests and stuff, and you shove it up your nose and it just tells you everything that's wrong with you.
That's so good.
Doctors hate her.
That's amazing, Lydia. I reckon, I felt like that feels like the future, right? But the future is today because of Lydia's invention.
Exactly right. Elizabeth Holmes tried to do like those tiny little blood. No, Lydia's like, step aside.
And you wear like your watch.
Yeah.
And it just gives you a reading. And so it catches cancer straight away.
Yeah.
It catches, you go, oh, you're a bit low on vitamin D, or you need a bit more calcium or whatever. And it tells you exactly what you're missing.
Yeah.
Or what you need or what's happening with your body. That's amazing, Lydia. That's going to save lives. A very commendable invention. Well done.
Bet Brendan feels silly for the walkie smelly now, but...
But, you know...
there's something for everyone.
Lydia did get to her lab that day by catching her horse.
So
there you go.
And I would also love to thank from Quebec in Canada, Sam Sutherland.
Sam invented the vegetable pig. So it's...
Yep.
You know, so vegetarians, vegans, etc. Some of them miss meat.
Yeah.
Some of them would love to eat meat.
People say I could go vegetarian if it wasn't for bacon. They say people say that all the time.
So what Sam has done, she has got the technology now to make vegetables sentient. So they feel, they think, they have emotions, but also has been able to make them in the shape and taste and smell like pigs.
That's incredible.
So they're basically pigs in every way.
Yeah.
Apart from they don't have organs and stuff.
Yeah, right.
So people who
who miss meat.
Yeah. And are only vegetarian or vegan because they're grossed out by organs. They don't care about killing things with feelings.
Yeah, it's fine.
So it's a small market, but there is a market there. And
there's a gap in that market.
Sam's found that gap.
So it's for vegetarians, vegans. Does it taste like pig?
Tastes like pig.
So they miss that taste.
They miss the taste.
And they also don't care about killing sentient things.
They miss the idea that their food costs a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not even that they don't mind it. They crave.
They're just a bit grossed out by organs. And,
I get that. Yeah.
So this is the perfect middle ground.
I think I might be in that group actually. Yeah. I do miss that most of my food just comes from stuff that's grown in the ground.
And I mean, this helps prove that vegetables can feel and think.
Yeah.
So really,
that's incredible.
It's a beautiful invention. Really creating a freak
pig.
of nature here.
And then that provides more jobs, doesn't it? More farmers out there with their vegetable pigs.
Yeah.
They're a low cost kind of.
Yeah, they don't eat.
No, because they're vegetables.
So you don't need big paddocks and stuff.
Yeah.
So you can factory farm them.
Yeah.
It's awful for them. They don't feel good. The pigs have a horrific time. So Sam, look, honestly, Sam, I don't know. It's mixed.
Yeah,
a mixed sort of result. I love what you're going for, though.
But again, like that's what good business is about: is finding those niche gaps in the market and being the only one to fill them.
Yeah, that's right.
So thank you, Sam, and the world thanks you.
Yeah.
And finally, I would love to thank from Williamsport in PA, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, go Penguins.
I would love to thank Andrew Schuller.
Or go Flyers, depending on where in Pennsylvania you are. I got caught up on that ages ago. Whenever Pennsylvania came up, I'd always say go Penguins. And someone's like, if you're closer to Philadelphia, you'll actually go for the Flyers, and they're our arch enemies. So like, fuck.
Sorry.
What a faux pas.
That's embarrassing for you.
Go faux pas.
What has Andrew invented?
All right, this is the last one. Let's come up with it together. So I'll give you sort of the overall thing, and then you sort of zone in on it.
Okay.
It is new technology with a microchip that allows you to feel
Love.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is a big one.
This is actually really
I've
big.
been wondering, what is love?
What is
for
love?
so long.
And so many people like you, Matt, have been wondering, what is love?
What is love?
And for so
I ask you
many-
that mainly off pod. People
Yeah.
probably haven't, but I ask you that all the time.
All the time.
Jess, what is love?
And I say, Matt, not now. I don't know how to explain it to you. I don't know how to explain this feeling.
Yeah.
And now...
Because you love love, don't you?
Oh, God, I love love.
You're one of the biggest love lovers I know.
Yeah, I'd say
and
that's
I'm like,
about
what is
true.
it? And what does that even mean? How do you love love?
Yeah.
What is love to love?
Yeah.
I want to love to love.
Yeah.
I love the idea of loving to love, but I don't even know what that means.
I know. Well, you've got to get onto Andrew's new technology. It is incredibly expensive. But for so many people who never quite find love or, too career focused, get to the end of their lives and realise they have nothing and that work won't be there with them on their deathbed.
They're the only people who can afford this
Exactly
invention.
right. You've got to have worked for a very long time in a high-paying job. And yeah, it'll allow you to feel love for up to 5 minutes. It's crazy. It's so good.
Andrew, you're doing God's work.
I'm kidding.
Can I get a sample, Andrew? Just on
Please.
Please.
He
Send me
needs
the
this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew, Sam, Lydia, Brendan, Christy, Katie, Paige, David, and MLSK. I reckon that's the most Aussies we've had.
Yeah, that was huge.
Brings a tear to my eye.
It's gorgeous.
God bless Australia. And Quebec and Pennsylvania. We are good. We are good.
We are good.
We are good.
God.
And we are good.
But honestly, we are good, aren't we?
We are so
We are
freaking good.
so freaking good.
We couldn't get any more good.
And people not in Australia are like, what are they talking about?
It's one of the key lines in our national anthem.
We're good by sea, okay?
We are so fucking good right now. All right, well, that brings us to the final thing we like to do. We thank a few of our long-term supporters. They're welcomed into the Triptych Club. These are people who've been on the shout-out level or above for 3 straight years. Bob, you're normally serving a drink in this club.
Yep.
So I'm standing on the door. I'm the doorman. I'm opening up the velvet rope. I've got the door list. I'm going to welcome these people in. Once they come in, they'll grab a drink off you at the bar. What are you serving up today? What's the Hedy Lamarr?
Austria is known for red and white wine, although white wine is more commonly known. So maybe a Riesling.
Oh, a Riesling. Yeah.
A Riesling is the
Riesling-based
cocktail of today.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Dave normally books a band. Do you have a band?
Oh.
What about the Future Heads?
Oh, that's good.
The Future Heads, who are a band. I think they had a Triple J hit back in the day. Can't remember what it was. But they had a great Christmas song called "Christmas Was Better in the '80s."
There is a band from Sydney called Hedy Lamarr, and they're an angry girl band of your dreams, echoing Letters to Cleo with B-52 harmonies.
Oh, that sounds great.
That sounds great. Let's get them on board.
All right. Future Heads, you got the flick.
Get out of here.
So Hedy Lamarr's playing. Grab yourself a Riesling. Now, I'm going to welcome... there's 4 names today. Dave normally is the hype man. Jess...
I'm going to have to hype.
You're up for the hype
But
position?
I don't want any of your classic negativity
No,
about my
I'm going to
hyping.
step in your role and
You're going to
boost
hype
you
me.
up. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's do it. These are the 4. This is the big finish of the show. First up, I'd love to thank from Aberdeen in Scotland, it's Andrew McLeod.
The best dancer I've ever seen.
Yes, Jess, you are nailing this so much better than Dave. From Reynoldsburg in Ohio, God's country in the United States, it's Jared Schaefer.
Jared Schaefer is here.
Yes, Bob. Yes, you're doing it.
How does Dave do this?
And from Gainesville in Florida in the United States, it's Linda Moulton.
Oh, is that molten lava? It's hot in here. No, Linda's here.
And finally, from Warrenton in Virginia in the United States, it's Taylor Edgar.
From Warrenton, I'm Warrenton for nothing because Taylor's here. Oh, Jared Schaefer really got hard done by in that whole thing. Can you think of anything for Jared Schaefer?
Jared Schaefer from Reynoldsburg in Ohio.
Sorry,
Ohio, my lord.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness, oh.
I'm so happy.
Jared Schaefer, you are making me... I'll never be late for you because you're always the first thing on my to-do list.
Yes! No, that's fine, it's fine.
Okay.
Like calling Jared would be the
Yes,
first
that's
thing.
right.
Yes, Matt!
Thank you, Taylor, Linda, Jared and Andrew. Welcome into the club. Make yourselves at home and enjoy a Riesling and the great angry music of Hedy Lamarr. That brings us to the end of the episode. Bop, anything we need to say before we move on?
Just to remind people
with
again...
our lives.
With our lives. Just to remind people again that we are doing our quiz show at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and also alongside that we are doing 4 live podcasts in Melbourne, Sunday the 3rd of April, 10th of April, 17th of April, 24th of April, 8:45, the European Beer Cafe. They're always such a good time. And we would absolutely love to see you there. So grab your tickets and, secure your place.
Yeah. A couple, at least one or two of the shows will have some of your favourite guest hosts from over the years. Maybe 5th and 6th Beatle type people. Maybe. We don't know. We can't say. We'll see. But thanks so much for listening again. And we'll catch you next week. Dave will be back. It'll be the classic 3 back in your feed once more. Until then, I will say laters.
Bye.